My biggest advice is to lean in and get messy. I think that oftentimes, especially in a professional setting, we feel we have to wear these masks, right? Think about interviews and everyone's kind of showing up, putting on a certain air, persona. And when I think about getting a job, one of the things I coach people on is to remember, one, that it's a two-way conversation, right? You're evaluating them as much as they're evaluating you. But I think more importantly, the way that you show up in an interview is how you'll be expected to show up on the job if you get hired. And so that's where I really encourage not complete transparency. That doesn't mean, stream of consciousness, word vomit by any means. But in terms of that transparency and authenticity, I think it's really important because as we become more authentic, as we honor ourselves and we listen to that inner voice that we each have, as we close the gap between our internal world and our external persona or how we show up, the more joy, fulfillment, excitement, and creativity we experience. The larger that gap is between who we really are and who we feel we're supposed to be or how we have to show up, the larger that gap is, the more pain and suffering we're going to cause for ourselves, which will spill out and create pain and suffering for those around us. So I really just encourage you to lean into being fully human. We are not robots, as you said. We are messy, we are complex. And I think looking at the last few years, when I think about one of the hopefully beautiful outcomes of the pandemic is a paradigm shift away from quick fixes, easy solutions, and kind of superficial communication, and really leaning more deeply into the fullness and the full spectrum of the human experience.
I love it. For me, if I would boil it down, it really comes down to authenticity. Really just focus on being yourself, because when you try to just be someone you're not, it's going to cause tension and frustration internally. Like you said, it's going to spill over into your communications with teams, leaders, clients, whatever it may be. Really focus in on being authentic. Just because your leader is super positive and bubbly and outgoing and upbeat, you don't necessarily need to mirror that in all of your interactions and try and be that person. Because if that's not your personality, that's not your default style, that is exhausting to do that. I'm a very upbeat, positive outlook type of person. If ever I have to try and scale that back and just not be so, it's frustrating. It's a struggle for me, and it just drains me. So really focus in on, lean in. I love you said, lean in, get messy, be yourself, and show up as to who you actually are.